Hello guys, a very warm welcome to everyone around here. In this video, I'm going to talk about top 5 skills which you should know as full stack engineer in 2025. So before that, let me give an introduction about myself. I am a software engineer with 3 years of experience, and I am essentially a full stack developer. In the front end, I use Vue.js, and in the back end, I use Express.js. So, this video will be talking about some of the skills which you need to have in this current era. So, let's begin. So, the first and the most important skill which is needed in 2025 is prompt engineering. Now, this may sound a bit controversial, but let me explain. So, prompt engineering is a skill which you should develop once you have around 2 to 3 years of experience in the industry. Why am I saying so? This is because if you start, okay, let's say you are a fresher or you're fresh out of college and you start. So what happens is that if you start prompt engineering from the beginning itself, then you will face a lot of issues. Like you will be over reliant on artificial intelligence. That's why I recommend spend at least 1.5 to 2 years in your current tech stack and be proficient in it, and afterwards you can use AI tools. My personal recommendation is Copilot. So the company when I work, they provide a Copilot subscription. Okay, so that really helps. Now, first skill is prompt engineering. Second thing, as a full stack engineer, the second skill which you should learn is ORM, database ORMs. Now, these days, right, people have the habit of using something like Mongoose or something like SQLize. So Mongoose, now one more thing, Mongoose is not an ORM, Mongoose is an ODM. So for those who don't know what I mean, see, whenever you create an application, right, you need to interact with the database. Now you have two options. The first option is raw dogging SQL. That's not a recommended thing because that will introduce SQL or injections. So that's why people prefer using ORMs. Now there are multiple ORMs, okay? Like we have got Prisma or Drizzle. So you need to weigh the pros and cons of each. My personal recommendation is to use Drizzle because it has got a declarative syntax, and if you know SQL really well, Drizzle will be beneficial. That's the second thing is true. The third skill which you should know is TypeScript. Basically, I am talking about the JavaScript ecosystem. So TypeScript is really essential because it ensures that whatever JavaScript code you write, especially in the backend, that has got type safety. Because normally what happens is that without TypeScript, right, your code will not provide relevant warnings, and there are certain bugs which may be raised in staging or production environment, which could have been prevented if you had used TypeScript. Now, fourth skill, this may be a pretty controversial, and many people may disagree with me, but you should learn some no code BPM tools. Now, these are not essentially no code, these are low code. One such example is Camunda. So, Camunda provides diagrams. It's used for business process modeling. So, how you use Camunda is that let's say you have a set of microservices. Let's say there's a ABC. A is the user login API, B is the product search API, and C is the product ordering API. So what happens is that we can write codes for each of these API. What I can do is that I will write the code for ordering a product and making the payment. That will be one separate microservice. Then the other microservice will be the login system, and the third one will be the product search. Now, using the BPM and diagrams, I have done all the coding right for this microservice. I can interconnect this microservice using simple diagrams, like I'll create a block and name it as user login, and there I will put the API details of user login, and then in workflow itself you can implement the logic that hey, if we get the token, then you can implement gateway, do this ABC, else you do this EFG. So in that sense, this makes the process of development really quick. So yeah. Now one more skill which I recommend you to learn is communication skills. Now what happens is that when you are in a meeting, right, you may sometimes need to put forward your points. Like it is very helpful that I want a beneficial team, I want a great team, but sometimes you need to put forward your points. So when you put forward your points, right, you should not only talk about the pros, you should talk about both the pros and cons. So in that sense, your leaders know that okay, this person has thought deeply about it. Now the next skill which I recommend you guys to learn is CI/CD or deployments. Now, in today's world, right, being only a developer is not sufficient. You have to be a DevOps engineer. And when you are a DevOps engineer, right, you use pipelines to deploy your code. These pipelines reduce the number of bugs and it makes the deployment process kind of automated. So one such thing which you can learn is Jenkins. You can learn Jenkins for CI/CD. Also, GitLab CI/CD, I heard that it's good, but I have not tried it personally. Personally speaking, I have used Atlassian Bamboo. Okay, that's it from my end. See you in the next video.